Between tire trouble, fuel-saving drama, 2 overtime restarts, and one hell of an earned victory, the Brickyard continues to prove it's one of the biggest chess matches in all of motorsports. Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, it's Taylor Kitchen, and welcome back to Above the Yellow Line. And this week in NASCAR, the Cup Series was at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and anytime you're at the Brickyard, it is a range of emotions from lap 1 to lap 160 or more, depending on if you have overtime restarts, which we will get into. But as the laps were winding down, and as tires started to blow and fuel strategy started to play out, it was very apparent that this race was in the hands of Bubba Wallace. From clean pit stops to excellent strategy calls atop the pit box from Charles Denike and the great driving that Bubba Wallace did this entire race, all this team needed was for the race to stay green, and they were golden. However, what is a crown jewel win without just a little bit of adversity? With 6 laps to go in the race, the rain started to fall, and NASCAR put the race under the red flag. And just like that, Bubba Wallace's over 3-second lead on the field was wiped away. Sooner or later, the rain stopped, the red flag was lifted, and the field went back onto the track for 2 overtime restarts. And this gave the field plenty of opportunities to maybe junk some cars, and of course, be very risky with your fuel situation. And what Bubba Wallace was told as we were going to the checkered flag was to save for your life. And that's exactly what he did, snapping a 100-race winless streak at one of the most iconic tracks in the world. And just how close was the fuel situation for that 23 team? Well, according to Charles Denike after the race, if the field didn't get the choose cone when they did going into that final overtime restart, the 23 car likely would not have made it to the checkered flag. So very impressive fuel saving there. And not only did Bubba Wallace save enough fuel to win the race and best Kyle Larson in 2 overtime restarts, but he saved enough to do a burnout too. So very, very impressive and a well-deserved win. You cannot say otherwise. He earned this win. He deserved this win. He fought for this win. This win, cemented in history, is Bubba Wallace's. Incredibly impressive. What's even more impressive, too, is he did it in an open car. If you're following the federal antitrust lawsuit, you know the situation. Nevertheless, a statement win from Bubba Wallace. Congratulations to Bubba, the 23 team, and the entire 23XI racing program. Phenomenal job. Of course, we know Wallace and Larson finished 1-2, and that third position was Denny Hamlin, and what a comeback it was for this 11 team. They junked the car in qualifying. It was all hands on deck to put the backup car together, and then, of course, Denny Hamlin going from the back of the pack to finishing in third is so impressive. In that 4th position, Ryan Preece, 5th, Brad Keselowski. In 6th, Todd Gilliland. Way to go for Todd. In 7th, Ryan Blaney, and Penske had such a weird strategy this race. They did pretty much the opposite of what everyone else in the field was doing for the most part, and it seemed like it was going to work out until tires started to blow. And of course, Ryan Blaney, before the start of stage 3, went to pit road when it was closed because he was running out of fuel, sent him to the back of the pack, and of course was able to work his way up to the 7th position. So it was a race of what could have been, but they all kind of have room to experiment. They've all won a race this season, so why not try something a little different strategy-wise, especially if you think it's going to get you a crown jewel win. In that 8th position, we have Christopher Bell, 9th, Alex Bowman, and in 10th, Carson Hocevar. 2 finishing positions outside the top 10 that I want to point out real quick. First up, Katherine Legge, a great result for her inside the top 20, finishing in that 17th position. She was consistent today, good strategy calls, and ultimately we know that she's been at Indianapolis Motor Speedway before in the Indy 500, so she had a good baseline here to begin with. So it was good to see her kind of work off of that and have a good result. And lastly, I want to point out Erik Jones. I hate it for him. Did not finish this race. A loose wheel on the car when he went back on track sent him into the wall. His day was done. But Legacy Motor Club had such a promising day building with great results in practice, great results in qualifying, and just ultimately did not pan out for the actual race. On a positive, though, if there has to be a positive, Legacy Motor Club did bring puppies to the media center this weekend, and that was pretty cool. So if we're going to take anything from it for that 43 team, at least take that. But gutted for Erik Jones this weekend, my goodness. All of this said, let's look at the current point situation, because Bubba Wallace going into this race was the first driver above the cutoff line, plus 16. Ryan Preece was the first one below at minus 16. And it was a fight to see who could be in that final spot. Well, Bubba Wallace with this win, he's locked into the playoffs. He doesn't need to worry about this anymore. And with that win, the point situation has kind of expanded a little bit. Tyler Reddick is one of 3 drivers that have not won or locked themselves into that playoff picture just yet. He's plus 138 to the good. Alex Bowman plus 63. Buescher plus 42, and then under that cutoff line, my goodness, going from minus 16 to now minus 42 for Ryan Preece. Kyle Busch minus 81, Ty Gibbs minus 95, and Allmendinger minus 124. But at least for Ty Gibbs, he's $1 million richer, so I guess that's a positive. Ty Gibbs is your winner of the TNT In-Season Tournament, winning the $1 million. And something that was cool that was attached to this too, as reported by Jacob Seelman on X, is that the primary sponsors of Gibbs and Dillon for this race weekend had a friendly wager working, saying that the losing car of his in-season bracket challenge had to donate $10,000 to a charity of the losing team's choice. Ty Gibbs said after the race he would match that donation too, so awesome job from those two teams, doing some good, giving some money to charity as well. So love to hear that story come from this in-season bracket challenge as well. But overall, thoughts on this race. The Brickyard brings such a range of emotions, from devastation to frustration to happiness to a lull because we're in parade laps, to happiness, galore, joy. It brings every single emotion, and you can only find that here at the Brickyard. A few things that disappointed me this race. Cookie Monster did not give the command to start engines. It was not on TV. He said, drivers to your cars. I was looking forward to this all week, and then it just fell flat. So I hated that. That's a side note, though. I will say crazy strategy all race long really did kind of keep me engaged. I will say I got a little lost a few times, but overall it was a pretty fun race to watch. And another thing to note here too is that TNT is done with their portion of the 2025 schedule. I think overall they did a pretty good job. It's nothing compared to what we saw with Prime, but I think all things considered, I thought TNT was really good. Hopefully they can clean some things up in next season's run that they have. But regardless, I thought this race was really good. The fight for the end with all of the cautions and strategy calls and tires and fuel and whatever was really engaging to me. Obviously, I think the Brickyard has kind of lost its luster over the few years in terms of the product that we see on track, but overall, I thought this was pretty decent. I'm going to give it a 70% above the yellow line. But what did you think of the Brickyard 400? Let me know in the comments below. And we have 4 races until the playoffs begin. That's pretty wild to me. We have Iowa, Watkins Glen, Richmond, and Daytona. 4 pretty different tracks to determine who are going to be our 16 drivers to fight for a championship this year. It's going to be wild. But thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode of Above the Yellow Line. Of course, make sure to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so you know when we post. Leave a comment, leave a like, and of course, go to AboveTheYellowLine.com to check out more from us and our team. But thank you all so much for watching this episode of ATYL, and until next time, I'll see ya. Bye.